Sanjay. This is Echo, a chatbot web app I built for the K-Hub Junior Developer Intern task. It's a full stack application where a user can hold um, a real conversation with an AI with the conversation history saved and the ability to start new sessions, revisit old ones, or delete them. Here I use it Flask for the backend, Google Gemini as the AI provider, SQLite for storage, and plain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript frontend. And here I use it no framework. So let me show you uh, let me show you how it works. Here I'm starting a new session and just giving it a simple uh, message, and here we can see the reply the chatbot gives, and let me prove it actually remembers context within the session. So see, it correctly refers back to my first message because I'm sending the full conversation history to Gemini on every turn, not just the latest message. So here are the old sessions in the sidebar that's been pulled from SQLite. So we can even delete the conversations by just simply hovering towards it uh, and so now let us walk through the architecture we used in this project. So firstly, if we see the JavaScript on the front end, JavaScript captures the message and sends a post request to API chat on my Flask backend. The backend first um, loads the full message. Um, Loads a full message from that conversation from SQLite. So Gemini has context uh, uh, which can be built. It is also used in the format Gemini experts sends the user new messages along with the history to the Gemini API and gets a response back. Both the user message and Gemini's reply get saved to SQLite as separate rows, one for the user and one for the assistant, tagged with the conversation ID. Then the reply is sent back to the front end and rendered in the chat window. Now, in the database for storage, I use two tables, one for conversation, one for messages, linked by a conversation ID. Rather than storing each conversation as a big JSON file, I simply created two tables, one for conversation and one for messages. So now, let me discuss the technical decision we used here. I choose that structure deliberately with rows in SQLite. I can pull just one conversations message in the correct order with a simple SQL query without loading anything unrelated into memory. It also makes deleting a conversation or auto-generating a title from the first message with using a plain SQL format instead of having to manually parse and rewrite a JSON file every time something with changes. We simply use it rows in SQLite. So beyond the core requirements, I focused on graceful error handling. That means if a Gemini API call fails for any reason, the user's message is never lost, and they see a clear error message instead of breaking conversations. And here, the conversations are auto-titled according to the context we used inside the conversation, and uh, it uh, it stays readable without any manual naming. So and I also added a persona selection, which has multiple and various modes, like general chat, code, helper, explain like I'm five, and study buddy. So, for example, if I selected coding helper before starting a session, it changes the system instruction which is sent to Gemini, and the search bar that filters past conversations by matching text in messages themselves using SQL-like query. So this is my chatbot named Echo, a, a working chatbot with session-based context, history, and a clean interface. good history and clean interface built with Flask, Gemini, and SQLite. The code, README, and setup. The code, yeah, this is my GitHub repository. It represents the whole README file, setup instructions, and everything which is required um, for cloning purpose and for the um, which is required for the cloning purpose. And thank you for watching.